Hey, Sargon of Akkad, and everyone who is listening to this. I had a few points that I wanted to make, and hopefully that you will acknowledge. I was watching your Thomas Smith versus Sargon of Akkad debate, hashtag Mythcon, that video. Then at 51 minutes and 23 seconds, it starts. It starts the subject that I want to talk about. So, in it, someone asks a question about some racial stuff. I'm not a native speaker, by the way. I'm gonna be incredibly incoherent in this ramble, but if you listen closely, you might hear me make a few points. So listen closely. I hope you can understand what I'm saying, because I'm not going to talk very well in it. So apologies for that in advance. Let's start with this. Alright, is the cycle of poverty. Alright, the idea, the notion of white privilege is that um, you are more favorably treated because you're white, right? Or that you had some kind of advantage before slavery happened, like during slavery, and that you're now um, more privileged because of that, and black people are lagging behind because of that. And I think that's sort of true. Let's imagine this scenario, right? You have this black guy, and he's in slavery, right, for 30 years, okay? And he's released from slavery. And you did get a small payout, but it was not enough to, um, you know, if you worked 30 years as a white man during that time, and you had all your expenses and stuff, you wouldn't nearly as low with money as the black person has, right? Let's just assume some random numbers, okay? I'm just sucking this out of my thumb, right? It's just pulling this out of my ass. Uh, the white person has 30k, out of 30 years working, 30k after all the expenses. And black person, he gets his payout after 30 years of slavery, from the government, 5k, okay, 5k. The white person has enough money to sustain himself and a family, and also send his kids to good school, right? The black person doesn't have that money. He just can sustain himself, perhaps his family, but not the education for his kids. He won't have that. So this starts, okay? And now, can you agree with me on that? That at that time it was unequal, the chance of education for their kids. If so, if you can admit that, then you will follow my other points, because people are more inclined to do crime when they are poor, and it has been scientifically proven that, and that when you are poor, when you have money problems, you have reduced mental capacity. Now that's very important, because if you have reduced mental capacity, you are less responsible for your actions. What you say, an individual has full responsibility for his actions, but if you are affected mentally by something, let's say someone with this syndrome of Down, right? You are less responsible for your actions. If you have someone with the syndrome of Down, and he has a dog, and he leaves the dog in a car with the sun burning on it, right? The dog dies. It's terrible. You can be sued for that, in my country at least. So is that person going to be punished for it? No, because he has reduced responsibility. He doesn't know what he's doing. He can't help himself. His mental capacity is lower. And I'm not saying all blacks, I'm not saying blacks have lower responsibility. I'm saying poor people have less responsibility and less mental capacity, because of those problems. So when you have a community, a black community, that has been poor and doesn't have the education, the money for the education to be educated, they will be poor, and because of that, they will have less responsibility for their actions, and they will are more inclined to do crime, because old people are more inclined to do crime. So you can't hold them fully responsible for crime, right? That's the point I'm trying to make. And that means, you have this cycle of poorness and crime, right? Because if you grow up in a family and your father is in jail for like 10 years or something, you aren't going to make as much as a nuclear family that's loving and caring, and has an actual dad that's there for every year, right? I mean, if both parents are working, or just your father, I don't care. He's going to, he probably works like 40 hours a week, maybe more. You're just going to make more money as a family, so you are more likely to get education as a kid in a family that has a father versus one that has a father in jail. Correct? All right. So if you have that in mind, you keep getting this cycle. Okay. Father is poor, gets released from slavery. Okay, is poor, can't afford, starts a family, but he can't afford to educate his children. His children are going to be poor. They they grow older, and they start a family of their own, and they're still poor. They do crime with reduced responsibility, you know, and just because they are more likely to commit crimes, and then they're going to do time. Children of that guy are going to be poor because of their father in jail, and they will raise poor children, and they will also have reduced responsibility. That's the cycle of poverty that asshole was talking about. I really dislike that guy. I don't. Oh yeah, Thomas Smith. Yeah, he's a fucking asshole. But you know, he brings it across really poorly. He doesn't word it out very well. But I think that's what he means. The cycle of poorness, and that's exactly what white privilege really means. I think. Also, what I do think is he is wrong about is the solution. He thinks, hey, if you have a white person and a black person, you just choose the black person because he's underrepresented. That's wrong. That's very wrong. What I think would be a better solution is, first of all, to look to the other factors that are contributing to that. For example, a lot of black families are broken up. They're separated, divorced, or whatever. The dads, the typical stereotype, that black fathers don't exist, is kind of true. I thought like 80% of the families, or 70%, was a ridiculously high number, right? 40, I don't know, man. Like a ridiculous high percentage of fatherless families, and that needs to be addressed, because as a nuclear family, a father that is there every year and it actually works is making a lot more money than a family that doesn't have a father, right? And while he may be in jail, or he just isn't ready to attach himself to a family or whatever, the problem is the culture, whatever, that needs to be fixed. Okay, that's one side of the problem. The other problem is the education. How will you get money for? Is affirmative action the solution? No, I think affirmative action is awful. Just like you said, you fight fire with fire. Racial discrimination versus racial discrimination. Or it's not even racial discrimination by privilege. Really, it's not. It's not really discrimination. I think it's more a cycle of poverty that's causing that. And to break that cycle of poverty, I think you should give everyone free education. If you do that, like basically what Thomas Smith is saying, you have a bucket of crabs, right? And he's saying, if one crab gets higher than the other, you must shoot it down. And what I'm saying is, you should raise all crabs. It's gonna take a toll on society, and on your economic stuff. But if you give everyone that's able, that has potential to get free education, you don't just give black people education, you give everyone education. Nobody gets worse because of it, Nobody is a victim. And everyone profits, right? And then you can give everyone the equality of opportunity, right? And that's exactly what we all want. And that's what you want too. You want not of outcome, but of opportunity. And right now, black people are so poor, they do not have that opportunity. That's one point I want to make. Another point what I wanted to make is the Black Lives Matter point. The police are biased against black people, whatever. If you look at the statistics for people dating their race and dating other races, right? You see a pattern. People that date within their race, generally, people are more favorable towards that race. That just doesn't stop by race. It goes by gender. Women are more likely to be favorable towards other women. Men are more likely to be favorable towards other men, right? That's normal. And it also counts for people with beards are more favorable toward other people with beards. So that is something that you need to think about. That's something you need to accept. And if you just are a white nation like the USA, let me just check right now the USA population by graphic by race. Here, let me just type this out. So black people are 13% or something. Where's that statistic? Okay, a lot of people are white, right? You have like 80% are white. Okay, 90%. Wait, non-Hispanic white. Okay, that's about 80%. So 80% people are white. So 80% people will be more favorable towards their own race, and that's entirely normal and should be acceptable. And if you're going to a black country, let's say Uganda, you will have like 98% black people, 99 probably. You will have 99% of the people to be more favorable toward other blacks than towards white people. That is just how it goes. That's just human nature. You can't do anything about it. That's just how people work. So if you're going to say that if you're going to say, yeah, the prosecutors, are 95% white, then they're sentencing black people harsher. Yeah, of course they're going to be that way. You are going to be more favorable towards your own race and less towards other people's races. That's just how it goes. So it's stupid to say, oh, that's racism, blah blah blah. No, that's just human nature, and you can't stop that. That's the unconscious bias. In some point, Thomas Smith is right about that. You have this unconscious bias, but that's just the way it goes. You can't do anything about that. There's nothing you can do to stop that. Short of like brain manipulation in every birth, but that's some Orwellian future I do not wish to enter. So yeah, and of course you're going to have 95% prosecutors, white prosecutors, because the education level is not high enough in black communities because they're poor, right? And you see this in the Senate, everything these feminists throw at you, like, oh, they're underrepresented in everything, high standard stuff, that's because they're poor. They can't afford that education, alright? And they're not going to afford that anytime soon unless we give everyone free education. And when that happens, it's going to be a lot less skewed. Yeah, I think I pronounced it. I hope I pronounced that right. So, well, that's just a long video with nothing fun to look at. But I do want to make more of these debate stuff. In reaction to Sargon, mostly, I think. But I'm interested to hear what you have to say about this, Sargon. I really hope you do watch this. I can understand if you stopped halfway through, because man, it's so much rambling, so incoherent, and to be honest, I would probably be just as incoherent in Dutch, Well, I'm gonna stop the video here. Let me know what you think, and viewers, let me know what you think as well. It's gonna be fun, hopefully, the debate. So, see you guys. Have a great time.